Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Epic Vision Zone. My name is Jane Applegath, a former award-winning stockbroker, television producer, script writer, yoga instructor, and serial entrepreneur, now founder of the Epic Vision Zone. I'm here to help you fulfill your dreams' big vision, grow the power of your voice, and achieve the impact you're meant to have on the world, because what you say and how you say it is the key to influencing more people, growing financially free, and living a more abundant and joyful life. Here at the Epic Vision Zone, we bring you some of the world's most influential people to inspire you to hit the go button on your epic life. A big thank you to everyone for being here today. Matthew Jacobsen wrote, "Behind every young child who believes in himself or herself is a parent who believed first." Julie Phillips Hatch has a passion for helping children. A mom, a parenting expert, holistic health, and pediatric nurse practitioner, she is a traditional Western medicine practitioner turned alternative holistic specialist. After years working in pediatric intensive care, then in neonatal intensive care, Julie's focus shifted to the realm of Eastern medicine and holistic health. She attained a master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine, encompassing acupuncture, herbal medicine, and mind-body-spirit practices. In conjunction to a thriving holistic healthcare and acupuncture practice, Julie coaches parents on alternative methods of parenting that honor a child's inner spirit and nature. For years, she started her parent counseling business, Moms on a Mission, Consciously Connecting with Your Kids. Her mission is to help kids find the emotional, mental, and physical health they all deserve. And that, she says, starts with the parents. She is also hosts the parenting podcast called Julie Hatch, Moms on a Mission. Today, Julie is here to talk about her new Amazon #1 best-selling book, A Parenting Revolution for Higher Evolution, Raising Resilient, Responsible, Compassionate Kids from the Inside Out. Welcome, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Jane. It is a pleasure to be here.
Well, I was speaking just briefly with Julie earlier, and there could not be a better time for this subject. I am so excited to delve into it. So give us a little insight into authoring your book. What was the inspiration for this book?
The inspiration came from two places, probably. One is that I want to explain the wisdom of Chinese medicine, and specifically the 5 elements and how that pertains to children and health in general, but also seeing and hearing a lot of anxiety in kids these days and depression in kids these days, and reading about the rates going up, up, up. And I started the book before the pandemic, so it's just gotten worse. So those two, there's a problem with our kids' mental and emotional health, I think. And I believe that there are many components to Chinese medicine that can help parents help their kids.
Yes, I can certainly see, and it's interesting that you say you started the book before the pandemic. So that might have been a little bit of divine timing there. Because who knew, right, at that time? And you're right, the young children today, I have a niece who is now 18, but she has a friend who has terrible anxiety. Now, she's not a little one, obviously, but still, I'm like, when I was that age, I never had anxiety. I never even really knew what it was. And so this is a very hot topic right now. And I think in the future, so name the common mistakes that parents make in raising their kids that influence children to becoming insecure, fearful, maybe unhappy, and irresponsible, and unable to function with compassion.
Okay, I'll start with the long list. I'll try to figure out where to start at the top. But I would say first and foremost is that we as parents set the example. And so any behaviors any anxiety that we carry around, the way that we respond to stress in our lives, the way that everything that we say, that we do, things that we don't say, the unspoken communication, kids pick up on it, and we are their models. They do not know how to be when they're young. They don't know how to be in life except for what they see right around them, and that's usually the parents, number one, foremost. So by modeling, or at least setting a good example, trying to fix your own anxieties and not pass them along to your kids, that's a start. I also think that parents pressure their kids a lot. As kids get older and older, they pressure them into being a certain way, acting a certain way, achieving certain things that the parent thinks is what the parent wants and what the parent expects of them, which can be okay to a certain extent, but it is not honoring what the child's desires are and what the child should be doing or achieving in their own right, in their own way. So parents can trying to be push them, and I think there's a lot of pressure on kids these days, and I think that that's also producing a lot of anxiety.
Yes, I could see that because the elements today are not just the parents, but the outer world, which is the social media. And so they have double duty almost in the sense that, they get pressure from, or, they'll feel fear or anxiety from maybe their classroom or whatever they're looking at or feeling. And then of course you've got the home environment. So we're almost like the radar. The parent becomes
Mm-hmm.
the radar and the child picks up on that because, like, and I know, the energy is very contagious and it goes out there. So that's really insightful. I appreciate that information because what we have to do as parents is probably become more aware of how we're behaving. Because, like you said, children pick up on everything. And which leads me into the next question. You said your book focuses on raising children from the inside out. I love that expression, but unpack that for our audience.
So, from the inside out is a term that Chinese medicine uses, that when you treat somebody with acupuncture or herbs in the Chinese fashion, you are treating the inside, because the inside is the root of the problem when you're talking about physical health problems. So, you're getting to the root of the problem, and then all of the symptoms and everything on the outside naturally follow and go away. They're healed if you heal from the inside. So with children, and when you're talking about kids that are, which does happen, is that the kids are creating their self-image and their self-worth from the outer elements, from what other people are saying. What I really believe and what my book talks about is that if we can get a child to really understand themselves, if we can understand our children at the very deep core level and help our kids to understand and love themselves from the deep core, who they are, not who everybody else is telling them that they should be or might not be, but who they are, which starts as early as you possibly can. That is what builds confidence and self-worth and resilience and all the good stuff, is that it needs to come from within. And so it's our job I think it's our job as parents to see that inner child, who they are at the core, their inner essence, their true nature. I call it all different kinds of things in the book, and then honor that and nourish it and respect it, and because that's who the child is. And if they feel solid and confident, really good about who they are on the inside, all of the stuff on the outside, all the negativity is going to have less, I hope, of an impact on them.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really curious as how you would get a child or find that inside out, but we'll move on because I'm sure it explains it a little deeper here. You have a phrase that you call holistic parenting. What exactly is that?
Holistic parenting. Well, so holistic health is mind, body, and spirit, encompassing all for optimal health. And so holistic parenting is seeing the child, who they are, for their mind, their body, and their spirit. most so their spirit, and then parenting to all three components, not just their academics, not just their sporting abilities, not just their, you know, problematic traits of their personality, but the whole child, and treating the whole, parenting the whole child, just like as an acupuncturist, you treat the whole patient, not just their one symptom. So that's holistic parenting broadly. And then specifically is getting into, like we have mentioned a little bit about, parenting to who they are on the at the core, and nourishing who they are from the inside. And when you nourish them from the inside, the outside just naturally flourishes. And that's holistic parenting in 101.
Right. Right. I know there's a lot more layers to that, but you're right. Taking the whole, the mind, body, and spirit, which is a healthier way to approach life in general. As we're learning more from the ancients as opposed to the West, because now our science can prove that all of that is very wellness is very much at the top of individuals, and our well-being is something that I think that the ancients knew quite well. But now, because science can prove it, the Western medicine is like, okay, we get it now. It takes us a little
Yep,
longer, but
very
certainly
true,
makes
exactly.
sense, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what made you decide to tackle this approach to parenting? Because it's not like you have your degrees in nursing and all the others. So this is very interesting. What made you decide to go into this?
Again, from Chinese medicine all through acupuncture school, and Chinese medical school is what they call it. It just makes so much sense. And again, or in my book, and the foundation of what I talk to parents about is the five elements. And it just, and the, like you say, the wisdom from thousands of years old from the Chinese medicine, it's so rich with just information and guidance and just insights. And so the five elements, I was trying to figure out how I could bring that into my acupuncture practice with kids. And it just makes so much sense that it's just really logical, and it's pretty easy way of parenting when you can apply the five elements rather than trying to figure out what you should be doing, because you can try to figure out what you're trying to do with your child's problematic behavior. You can Google it, you can talk to your mother, your mother-in-law, your best friend. But the five elements is a really good um, place to start in guiding you.
Right. Well, speaking of the five elements, in fact, that's a great segue to our next question, because how do you recognize the five elements? To maybe just explain to us what they are a little bit, and how they work, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, so the five elements, that is the Chinese medicine terminology, is, I also call it, it's a way to find your child's inner essence, or their soul, or their true nature, which is, in essence, what drives them, what motivates them. It is what makes them. It's what makes them who they are. It's their personality. It's their temperament. It is just who they are at the core. So the five elements, you can take a quiz in the back of the book or on my website. And essentially, the five elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And everybody, all children and everybody, falls under one of these. And if you take the quiz, you list a whole bunch of typical traits and characteristics about each one. And whichever you get the highest score on is the dominant element type. Sometimes there is a close second, and that's a supporting element type, but there's always one dominant element type. And we are born with those element types, and we will die with that element type. It doesn't change. That is your element type for life. So, real quickly, if you'd like me to go through them, which is what the overall characteristics are. And again, the reason this is helpful is because it will tell you what motivates your child and what challenges and stresses your child. So the stuff that motivates your child, you want to feed into that and offer them more of that, and you know that that's a direction that they will thrive in, and things that challenge them or stress them, or things that you want to be very aware of and perhaps avoid or teach them how to contend with. So wood, I'll start with wood, and that is the element of spring, where things are coming up out of the ground and blooming and growing and pushing up and out and forward. So wood children are super energetic. They are very energetic. They can be really loud and boisterous. They are competitive. They like to win. They like to come in first. It's really important to them. Many ADHD children are considered wood children. And this is another benefit to the five elements. I don't believe in labeling children. Saying, oh, this is my ADHD child is not helpful to that child. It's more helpful to say, this is my wood child, which means that he's highly energetic and he needs to move all the time and he's competitive and he's loud and he's go, 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 go. Go, go, go is what the wood child is. And that's a yang type, which is up and out and bright. And the other yang element type is fire. And fire children are also energetic, not quite as hyperly so, but they're very energetic. They're very charismatic. They are funny. They like to perform and they like to entertain people. And people really like fire. They're drawn to fire children because they're so charismatic. They know how to speak. They know how to speak and carry on a conversation with somebody, and they love interacting with people. They also like the bright, shiny objects, so they can have a little bit of attention deficit because they like that, they want to do that, they want to do that, they want to do that, and it's hard for them to focus on one particular task at hand. So I'm sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit if that's okay. So the wood, their stressors are being told to sit still and pay attention for an hour in the classroom. They're going to have a hard time doing that. And so it's beneficial to be aware and see if things can be accommodated for that. Their challenges are, and then people often will punish a wood child by making them stay inside and sit, as a punishment, stay inside and sit. When in fact, what is motivating for them is being able to get out and run around and move. So it's good to know what motivates them and what stresses them. Fire children, what motivates them is being the center of attention. They like to act. They like to be on display. They like to be the center of attention. And what stresses, and they also like the new environments, the new activities, something always new and different coming along. So what stresses them is boredom, not having enough novelty in their environment, and not getting the right amount and kind of attention, which doesn't mean that you need to always be fawning all over them. It's not that kind of attention. They just need to know that you're listening to them, you're going to laugh at their joke, and then they go off and do their thing. So then there is the earth element, which is neither yin or yang. It's kind of in the middle. And the earth element type kids are peacemakers. They are diplomats. They are really easygoing. They're little Buddha babies who are they love to have people around. They smile. They're easygoing. They do not like to make waves. People also really like them because they're so easy. And again, they love their friends. They love their family. They're caretakers. They're loving children. They love to sit in your lap and caress and cuddle with you. They like being around a lot of people. They do not like being the center of attention, but they like to be on the outskirts and see what's going on with the people around them. So what motivates them, obviously, is being around people, having the security of their family or friends around. And what stresses them is being alone and not having their family around, or not knowing where their family is, or wondering when people are going to be coming home. They need the security of their family. Metal children are, so this is getting into more yin. So metal goes along with early winter or late fall, early winter. And they're rigid. They're kind of rigid. They like the rules. They like to follow a schedule. They like predictability. They like to know what the schedule is going to be. Like I said, they like to know what the rules are. They like justice. They are called the true judge. And they like justice. They like to know that they're doing the right thing and that their friend better be doing the right thing too. So they're very aware of right and wrong. They don't need a whole lot of discipline because they know right and wrong. They don't like to be punished. They don't like to be yelled at or humiliated. That is such a big stressor for them if they get embarrassed by somebody yelling at them and reprimanding them in public. It's terrible stress for stress for any child, but for a metal child, it's really very, very stressful. Um, but they love predictability, they love patterns, numbers, puzzles. They're the ones that line up their matchbox cars one right after another perfectly, and don't come along and mess that up, because that'll. So they're a little bit OCD-ish, but they like predictability, and they're really they're my son. One of my sons is a metal type, and he required very little um, um, correcting from me. He usually followed the rules, and he didn't need a whole lot of discipline from me. He knew what he was supposed to be doing. And then finally, the water child is they are called the philosophers. They're really deep thinkers. They're very yin. They're very it goes with winter. They like to be by themselves. They are deep thinkers. They're always living in their imaginary world. They're very creative. They're very imaginative. Um, and they don't like being around a lot of people. They're perfectly happy being alone in their rooms, writing or drawing or doing something creative. They do not need a lot of friends. And some parents can understand that. They think that their child is depressed. And I've worked with some
Mm.
people like this. They think that their child is depressed, but it's just that they are, I mean, they could be depressed, but that's not a sign of being depressed. The fact that they like to be alone and doing their own thing in their own world. So they don't need people. They don't want people, or not one or two select friends. And they also have a hard time with time maintenance. So if you are trying to rush your water child to get on the bus in the morning, it's going to be a challenge, because they march to the beat of their own drum and to their own clock. So they're hard to get on a conventional time schedule. So I don't know if that was a bit long, but those are the five elements.
No, thank you. I appreciate that because that is the core of your work. And um, it's fascinating because every time you mentioned some traits, I was think, oh yeah, that's so and so. Oh yeah, that's my niece. Oh, that's my nephew. I could picture individuals in these different elements, and how interesting that the ancients had these figured out a long time ago, Julie, when you think of it, because now we have so many other things that we use, like Myers Briggs, and, they have, oh my gosh, there's human design, there's all kinds of things that break down character and the way that you work and the way that you see things in the world. But funny that they had their own system and it's always been there. But
Yeah,
interesting that theirs are more associated with the earth and, well, the elements, which
yeah.
is really interesting. So no, I found that fascinating. So taking that knowledge, my next question is, how do you blend the Eastern and Western philosophies in your work then? I was laughing when you said we shouldn't be calling people ADHD, no, children, but we should say that's my wood child. And I'm thinking, I don't know if people get that. That's my fire child. It's like, yeah, she's on fire. But I mean, it would be great. But people might think, I think that lady's a little strange. But so, how do you blend these
Exactly.
two together?
Um, well, I guess I blend them together first of all in my head, because I'm bringing in the Western medicine from my experience and my all of the education that I had in it, blending it with what I am. I really practice the more Eastern medicine. So when I work with parents, I understand exactly what they're saying when they're talking about various different diagnoses, and from the Western perspective. So I understand, but I try to translate it into an Eastern medicine approach, because I just think that it's more comprehensive and more helpful. And so I just take what the diagnoses are, or what the assessments are from the Western medicine perspective, and present it or translate it in my head, and then to the parents into an Eastern medicine perspective. And the thing about Eastern medicine is, it's very useful and helpful to apply it, the earlier the better. So the other modalities that you were talking about work for adults, and maybe they work for kids too. But this is just made for kids. There's several books on different kinds of ADHD based on the five elements: fire child, water child, and some other acupuncturists that have written about behavioral and physical health, with children. So it's great that we can start addressing potential problems, and helping our kids at an earlier age to try to prevent them from growing into anxious, ill-prepared adults.
Yeah, and I could see that kids would resonate with this more. But also too, what you said is your element is your element. It never changes. Is that what you said? Like, is that
Yeah,
when you're young? You
and
that's Go ahead.
that is your element. And some, as I said, there's sometimes there is a supporting element, a close second, and sometimes that may be more, may show itself more, may appear to be your dominant element in certain phases of life or certain stages, but your dominant element is your dominant element forever. It's what you're born with.
Yeah, that's interesting because, people do change over time. So I was just curious about that. But like you said, you have a dominant element, and then you could have, can you have more than one sub elements, or however you call it, whatever you would refer it to? I'm just interested
Um,
in.
there's really, from my understanding, there's the dominant, and then you may have a supporting. You don't really have more than one supporting element type.
Mm,
And as you change through life, and things do change, and people do change and grow and develop and mature or do what have you, but still, the core you, what you were born with as an element type, is there. It may be covered all up and changed into
okay.
different colors and ways of being expressed, but it's there at the core.
So yeah, that makes sense to me. Like you it becomes covered up because,
Yeah,
they were taught, we were taught to conform to a certain way of being. And don't we know that that's really a big problem? That's,
yeah.
and they're trying to conform even more, which is horrible. But that's a subject for another day for sure. So here's a topic that really hits home, and we spoke about it very briefly at the beginning: technology and social media. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think of the roles of technology and social media in kids' lives today, and how does that come into play with your work?
Um, Technology is a reality. It's here. It's not. It doesn't have to be evil. I think that it does create problems, but I think we need to learn to work with it. And actually, kids. I did have a conversation recently with somebody who was saying that kids really, with all their technology and all of their um, the stimulation coming at them from screens and phones and all this kind of stuff, they are they're really smart about it. They're really smart with it, and they can process things so much faster than us older people who did not grow up with technology. I mean, there is the generation of kids now who were born with an iPhone in their hands. The iPhone had been already invented, and so they are the iPhone generation, the I generation. So the technology, I don't think, is inherently bad or a problem, and is actually quite useful. I think that we just need to help our children understand how much is too much technology, what technology is appropriate, what is maybe not appropriate. I think the biggest problem with technology that I see is that kids are, adults too, but kids are so addicted to their devices that they no longer, many kids don't like to go outside.
Mm.
People, there's an epidemic going around where kids will go outside and think, oh no, I want to be back inside on my device, and they don't like the fresh air or the sunshine, and I think that that's a big problem. But I don't think that that's insurmountable. I think that it's up to the parents to have rules and limitations on the devices and enforce getting outside into nature, into fresh air. I think that that is really, I, I can't stress enough how important nature and time in nature is. Even if it's in the middle of a city, going to the city park or looking at trees or something natural, and getting away from the devices. So um, that's my thought on technology. As far as social media, I'm in the middle of an article in the Atlantic about social media because I think it's a
Mm.
big problem. I think that I think that social media is how kids are judge themselves, are judged, are bullied, are intimidated, are made to feel badly about themselves. I mean, all this negativity comes from social media. It's a great way to connect, and I think it was helpful during the pandemic when kids were at home from school and didn't have other kids to communicate with or relate to. But in general, I think that social media is really quite damaging. And I don't know what the solution is, again, other than the parents putting limitations on, and parents, I think, should know where on the internet their kids are, what kind of social media they're engaged in, and what they're doing on the social media. Be nosy, find out, and just be aware of what your children are doing, and decide whether you want to put a stop to it or not. But so, like I say, I don't have an answer for social media, but I think it needs a lot of work. We need to be aware, and we need to do something about it.
So, give us some examples then of how your approach has helped parents and kids. Can you just give us an example of what has shifted?
Yeah, I alluded to it before. I worked with a mother brought her child in, her daughter, who was probably about 14 at the time, for headaches, migraines. So I was treating her for migraines. And I talked with the mother about, so the mother was concerned that she was depressed. And the child did, or I had a mother do the 5 element quiz for herself and for her child. And then I had her daughter do it for herself and for her mother. And the mother was absolutely a fire type, was really social, very busy, had lots of friends, was always off doing things. And the daughter was a water type. And they had a very close relationship. But I think that the daughter was misunderstood because she was a very, very talented artist. And the mother saw that and respected that. But the daughter liked to come home from school and be in her room doing her artwork and have, one friend come over. And the mother thought that was a problem, thought that she was depressed. And the mother tried to get her to go to the seventh grade or eighth grade dance that it was, and that didn't go over well at all. The daughter went to make the mother happy, and it was just a disaster because it really should not have been. So with time, I know that the mother understood that her child was not depressed, that she was a water type. And I talked to her a whole lot about what water types are. And in fact, the psychologist that she took her daughter to confirmed that no, your daughter is not depressed. So that sort of confirmed what I was trying to tell the mother, that she's fine. That's just the way she is, and try to respect that and honor that. So that was one situation of when the mother had a better understanding. Parents certainly know their kids better than anybody else, but it just offers a different way to look at your child and a different kind of understanding of what your child is all about, who they are and what they're all about.
That must have been quite the light bulb, because it's
Yeah,
interesting. It really, I mean, this is so insightful, Julie. I mean, because depending on how we were brought up, the parent, right? If your child was that way inclined, and wanted to keep to themselves and be in their room, and you hear about it on the news, and you think, if your child is drawing into themselves, be aware that that could be the signs. And isn't that interesting? That I mean, that could be signs, but if you understand these elements, it's more who they are, what their core essence is. And
right.
like I said, and what a relief I would think as a parent, if I thought my child was depressed and she was going into a room because of that. It would be such a relief for me to understand that it's not because of that. It's because that's who she is in her essence, and she is really, by being alone, she is that's her light. By having her
Right.
space, that's what produces her light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful. What a powerful story. I,
Yeah.
I would
But
have
I would
think
also, Jane, thank you for bringing this up, because it's also important. Yes, there are children who are depressed, and
yes,
they do need help. And so there's other signs and symptoms of depression that parents should be aware of. So it's helpful to know the element type. But thank you for bringing that up. That you do want to watch for signs of depression, and there are certain telltale signs like a radical change in behavior or change in eating or various things. So
right. No, absolutely. But yeah, like you said, she had taken her to a psychologist, so she had done all the other work, and they
right,
said that she wasn't. And of course, then as a parent, you would still be concerned because they could have misdiagnosis. I mean, that happens or whatever. So, but to have that peace of mind to say, oh, okay, now I understand, I mean,
Right.
I think that's it's such a wonderful service, and it's such a wonderful insight that parents could have, to have an understanding, to have a better understanding of who we are really as human beings. So that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if a parent wants to go the holistic route, what is one of the first things that you recommend?
I recommend that they um, become aware of themselves, what they're bringing to the table every time that they are interacting with their child, what they're bringing to the table. What are you saying? How are you saying it? Be mindful of one's own behavior. And then a very close second is to be mindful, and I call it consciously connecting with the child, meaning, um, yes, we connect certainly by hopping in the car and driving to the mall or hopping to the baseball game or whatever, but consciously connecting, taking time to really look at your child on their level, developmentally and physically, and really connect with them and listen to them. Let them know that you're listening to them, because all kids want to be heard. They want to know that they matter and that they count. And so I think that just the first step is being aware of where we're at as a parent and where our child is at as a child, not where we think they're at or where we want them to be at or where we think they should be at, where they are at and where they're coming from, and connect with them and try to understand where they're coming from. Again, based on the five elements, but conscious connection. And that's, like I say, it's, we connect with our kids a million times a day, but it's not always conscious connection where you're really
Right.
conscious about what you're saying and what you're hearing.
Yes, it takes some time and patience, a lot of time. I mean, that's the unfortunate. Yeah, that's the thing with our lifestyle. It's like go 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 go, and but yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure if did you want. I have this question here, but I think you may have answered part of it. It says, "What are three takeaways that you'd like parents to hear?" Is one of them to be aware and listen to your child, or was there some others that you wanted to add to that?
So the modeling that we had, or setting the example and modeling, is one. Consciously connecting certainly is one. Um, I also, as I write in my book, I have a chapter called "Do No Harm," which means if we did no harm to our kids, if we just, that would be huge in a big way. If we didn't humiliate them and embarrass them, and without meaning to, we're often yelling at our kids and making them feel badly about themselves, um, and demeaning them, and, like I say, embarrassing them in public. And no child, that feels terrible to all kids to be reprimanded in public or embarrassed or humiliated or, you know, knocked down. So do no harm is another thing, which is really not that difficult. Just watch what you're saying and try to be, try not to be so demeaning and not condescending. That's not it, but just yelling at them and scolding and just making them feel badly about themselves. I also think that if we redefine our term definitions of success, when parents talk about, well, I want my child to go to this Ivy League school, I want them to succeed as a lawyer or a banker or whatever our definitions of success are, society does define success in a particular way that I don't think is always beneficial to all kids. So for a parent to redefine their definition of success and gear it more towards their individual child, what is their individual child meant to be doing in this world? And that takes time and patience and some digging in, but it's much healthier for the baby, for the child to be headed in the direction that they're meant to be directed in, not what society tells them is the the status, the way to be in the world. And I think one last thing is that let your child actually. I don't know how many things I can say, but so I would also say let your child get out and play, free play, without rules and without adult intervention. Let kids get together and throw together a makeshift basketball game or a kickball game or whatever, and let them do some free play. Don't have everything organized and scheduled throughout the whole day. Let them just have some just downtime, free time to do whatever the heck they want. Preferably not on their devices, preferably outside in nature, but let them climb trees, let them run around and climb and tussle and do what kids naturally do, because that's what they do naturally do. And finally, I would tell parents to lighten up and relax and have fun with it all. Um, I would say laugh and play more and yell less, and really enjoy the time as a parent with your kids, because it's fleeting. It's the most important job in the world, I think, but it can also be one of the most fun, rewarding jobs that there is.
Yes, absolutely. Boy, that's great information, Julie, because we forget, and I say that often because as adults we forget how important play is, and it's so fun to see a new parent and the silliness that they do with their child. They're playing again. It brings the child out in the adult. They start making funny faces. They start, pretending that they're whatever, a ghost, and it's just fun. And it's fun for the adult too. So play is so
Yeah.
important. It really, really is. Because let's face it, I mean, it's all about being happy, and just like you
Yeah.
said, just let it go, be free. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so important. I love those points, and we don't say it enough. We don't remind even ourselves enough to get out and play and to have fun. As adults, we get so rooted in what's happening because let's face it, there is a lot of static in the world today. But like they say, life goes on. And can we take those moments? And of course, we treasure them, but make it so that it is just time for fun and free for all. I love it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great advice. Great advice. So tell us where parents and prospective parents can find you and learn more. And
Yeah.
I, by the way, I did want to mention your book is fabulous. Everyone, at the back you have an appendix where you can take the tests, and I think it'd be valuable not only for parents but for adults as well.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yes, thank you. I'm glad that you like the book. And you can find anything you want to about me, including my acupuncture, but my parenting coaching and where to get my book, which is on Amazon. So on my website is a link to the Amazon for the book. And my website is juliephillipshatch.com. And again, that has parent coaching. It has all about me, my acupuncture, my book. The 5 element quiz, I think, is probably on my website, and opportunity to sign up for a free 20-minute consultation with me to talk about you and your child, whatever's going on. If you need some, I don't know if I want to say advice, but some insight, some insight from me as an objective person.
Right. No, I would suggest take advantage of it, and especially do the breakdown, take the assessment. Because I'm going to do it myself because I'm really interested in finding, my element as well.
Mhm.
And that's why I say I think it would be useful for even adults. Like you said, you did the mother and the daughter.
Right.
So that's great. So do go to her website, and all that'll be on our site as well. And tell us, what are you most excited about in life today?
Oh, I'm always excited about kids. I just think that we all say the kids are the future, and they are. But is our opportunity to help shape the future and create the future through our kids. And I mean that not um, not directing our kids to do something that fulfills what we want to see happen, but that to if we're raising compassionate kids who come are come from the inside, are built from the inside out, that are less selfish, more selfless, compassionate, giving kids, which is really which is the way kids are. Younger kids are naturally, anyways. They're loving, they're compassionate, they're caring. They don't like to see people suffer. If we can just keep them on that, still growing up and maturing, but still keeping those fundamental parts of themselves intact and bringing out to the world. So that's what I'm excited to see, because there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world, And I have faith in our younger generations. I've got 3 boys who are now in their 20s, um, doing some great stuff, and I see lots of other younger generations. People will say, "Oh, this younger generation, they're lazy and they're self-centered and blah blah blah." But I don't think that's necessarily true, and I think that the future generations are our future and can look bright. I'm really excited about them.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. And any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
No, like I said, just for the parents out there, enjoy it. Relax a little bit if you can. Don't take it quite so seriously, as serious as it is. Just try to take life a little bit less seriously. And like you said, play more, have a little bit more fun.
Right. Goodness knows we need it. I mean, like you said, our life is, our world is serious enough. So, we need to
Mm-hmm.
take it and make it our own, and, continue with the idea that there's still time for laughter, there's still time for play, and there's still time for just sitting down, like you said, and having some time with your kids. So, because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, Julie, I have one last question, and that is, if your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Title of my life as an epic story: The Life and Times of an Adventurous, uh, Life and Times of an Adventurous, Intrepid Mother.
No, perfect. I love it. It completes the entire picture. I love it. Well, thank you so much again, Julie, for joining us. And be sure to check out Julie's website at juliephillipshatch.com and her book, A Parenting Revolution for Higher Evolution, and the appendix that at the back of the book that walks you through your child's elemental qualities and yourself as well. And you can find, again, all of that information on the Epic Vision Zone bio pages, so you can be sure to check it out there. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath, and check out how you can become an epic entrepreneur at janeapplegath.com and get your free download, The Keys to Your Dreams. This is the Epic Vision Zone, transforming your dreams into epic success.